What is going on, baseball fans? As you can see, I am not Jordan Lazowski here today. I am Diego Franco-Carreno, stepping in to host This Week in Baseball this week. And today with me, we've got Jonathan J. Roy, James Darschewski, and Kristian Lloyd. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Awesome.
Doing pretty good, Diego.
I'm doing good.
Good to hear. Things will be relatively the same, maybe a little bit different than our normal week to week this week in baseball. But as always, we'll start with our standings update. We'll go around the league in 60 seconds, and then seventh inning stretch. And then, as always, we'll also end with our what to watch for. So, if the season ended today, for our standings update, we'll start with the American League. In the American League East, the Tampa Bay Rays are leading the Boston Red Sox by 3.5 games. In the Central, the Chicago White Sox are in first by 10.5 games. And out west, Houston leads Oakland by 2.5 games. Your wild card teams out there are Oakland and Boston. Anyone have any words about the AL sides of things there? Cool.
Okay, yeah. I mean, White Sox are, continuing to roll. I think as we've kind of expected them to do, as based on their performance, kind of the rest of the year, they've been playing really good baseball throughout. The Rays are holding on to their lead in the East, and even though the Red Sox have been scuttling, they're still only 3.5 back in that division. And Houston and Oakland are pretty much right where they were last week when we were talking about this. 2.5 ahead for Houston, and yeah.
Yeah, not a whole lot has changed out east.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole lot has changed, in general, but we have had some shakeups this week for the first time in I don't even remember how long, but it's been a while. Kristian, James, any words about the state of the East?
Of the American League East?
American
Not till we
League.
get to it later.
Okay, fair enough. Or any division, I guess, in the American League?
The White Sox are just going to keep pulling away. I have family members who think this is a special team, so...
Can any team that's currently being led by Tony La Russa really be that special?
Fair enough.
Well, when you're a bunch of White Sox fans, you're going to think a winning team's a special team.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
All right. So moving on to the National League out east, we have the Atlanta Braves currently in first over there. That's the division we've really seen shake up in nowhere else really across baseball. They're currently ahead of the Phillies by a game and the Mets by 2 games. And also, we are recording this on a Sunday afternoon, so, things going to be shaken up by the time you guys are listening to this. So it's Sunday afternoon, but as of right now, that's where we stand. In the Central, the Brewers, 8 games ahead of Cincinnati. And then out west, the San Francisco Giants, up by 4 on the Dodgers. Our wildcard teams in the National League are the Dodgers and the Padres, but the Padres they only have a 2-game lead over Cincinnati in the wild card, and they've been scuffling. So, anyone have words on out in the National League?
Yeah, we saw the East shake up a little bit in the past week. Last week when we recorded this, Phillies were up by a couple games. Now they're down 1. They lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers, and then they lost 2 of 3 to the Reds. And as you said, the Reds are only 2 games back of the Padres in the wild card race. I haven't watched a ton of Reds baseball this year, but they looked like a really good team against the Phillies. They got the job done 2 out of 3 times, got big wins, and I don't know. I think they could potentially make a run if the Padres continue to just kind of tread water. I think we kind of expected them to be. They are a really good baseball team, and they have been pretty good. But I don't know. I think the Reds could come in and steal that.
Yeah, Kristian, any thoughts?
Yeah, with Tatis coming back finally, and hopefully he stays healthy, I don't think the Reds are catching them. They have a really solid pitching core, a really great bullpen. But the Padres are just a better team overall. They're a much better team.
That's fair. James, anything?
I think the Reds can catch them. If you had told me, on August 15th, 2021, the Dodgers would not be in first place, I would have laughed. And if that was the Giants who were ahead, like talent-wise, the Dodgers are more talented than the Giants. Talent-wise, the Padres are more talented than the Reds. But the Padres are starting to lose ground. They are winning today, at least the last time I checked. Because Tatis just cranked a home run off of Zach Gallen.
It's a 1-1 game right now.
Yeah, they just tied it back up.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Making me look foolish. They're on shaky ground, and they need to start kicking it into the next gear for them to for Padres fans to be comfortable. I think when you've had the history of suffering that fan base has, you can't really feel comfortable right now.
No, yeah, you're definitely right there. So it's a weird year, so maybe some more weirdness can happen. But anyway, now we'll move on to Around the League in 60 seconds. Give me your best recap of everything that's gone on, the last week of baseball. We'll start with Kristian.
Oh boy, well there was a no-hitter. We're gonna get to that later.
Yeah, there was another one.
His first career start, only his third ever game. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Blue Jays are my biggest story right now. Their offense, just everything is coming together. Vladdy is struggling a lot right now, but that lineup is so deep, and they've just been my team to watch right now. They're all I've been focused on as the Blue Jays.
Yeah. J-Roy?
Kristian mentioned the Blue Jays. I think, last week we talked about how we were talking about the AL East picture, and we were always talking about the Rays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees. But, the Blue Jays are right there, right? They're not that far behind them. So, they're a team to kind of keep an eye on. And, Vlad is struggling a lot right now, but that's not going to that's not going to be like that forever. So I think they're in a good spot looking forward till the end of the season. I think the most significant things that happened is, Chris Sale made his first start yesterday, and I don't even know how long, and he looked really good. He gave up 2 bombs in the third inning, but besides that, he went 5, struck out 8. His stuff looked pretty good. His average fastball velo was in the 93 something, so not too bad for him in his first start back. And then on the flip side of that, a couple of days ago, we found out Luis Severino kind of suffered another setback. And, I made a joke the other day in VC about how, let's just face it, Luis Severino is not going to throw another major league inning ever. And, I mean, at this point, when is he going to, we don't know when he's going to come back because it's been so long that it seems like he's one step away from getting back on a major league mound, and it just is not happening. So, I love Severino. I hope he can figure things out and come back as soon as he can. But if you're a Yankees fan, you can't be too happy about that.
Yeah, Sevy, hopeful for a recovery and for his health, but it's a lot of questions still surrounding him. James, what do you got?
Yeah, the Dodgers did something I didn't think was possible. They won in extra innings twice this week, snapping an 11-game, I believe, losing streak.
It was 11.
It was 11. Of course, the Giants fan knows.
Correct. They were 1-11
about
before.
Losing in extra innings. This was the worst stretch in extra innings since the 1969 Montreal Expos, a team that lost 110 games. So comparatively, a team that many thought could win 110 games did this. It's part of the reason why they're not in first place, but they did it, and they're helping J. Roy's Phillies out by taking out the Mets after hurting J. Roy's Phillies and knocking them out of first place. But other than that, Tatis is back, and George Springer's out for the Blue Jays, I think.
Yeah.
So that could be that could set off a domino effect for them, because with Springer, you have one of the most dangerous lineups in the game, and without him, it's just not as deep. So best wishes to him in his recovery, whether it's a 10-day injury or longer. I hope he's all good.
Yeah, we always want players healthy because healthy players is better for baseball, better for everyone. But yeah, I think you guys really hit pretty much everything that I wanted to mention. The no hitter yesterday, which we will talk about here a little bit more. Today we almost had a perfect game. We became, I think, 4 outs away from it, with Tristan McKenzie out in Cleveland against Detroit. I guess they were in Detroit, but either way, so we'll move on into our 7th inning stretch. Let me pull that up there. So just like every week, we've got 7 questions. We might go into extras today. We'll see about just things in baseball. So we'll get it started. So inning 1, this week's Field of Dreams game was the most watched regular season game in 16 years. MLB has already announced that there will be another game next year, and the Cubs are pretty likely to be involved. What are your thoughts on the game, and should MLB continue to do these yearly? And who would you want to see play in them? And as a bonus, give me your favorite baseball movie, because I just want to know. So we'll start with J-Roy.
Okay, yeah. So, the Field of Dreams game was a huge hit, it seemed like. It seemed like it went over really well. Ratings were up. And a lot of, people on my Twitter timeline who don't really even follow baseball were talking about it. I think the one thing that MLB did that messed up with the game a little bit is the fact that it was blacked out on MLB TV. So I only got to watch a little bit of the game. Doesn't make much sense. This is the biggest regular season game that they're doing this build up for. They created a whole field for it, and then the people who are actually paying for MLB TV can't even watch the game. I don't know. It seemed kind of dumb, but the game seemed like a lot of fun. We had a lot of heroics from different players, from Judge, and then Tim Anderson with the walk-off home run. And the field looked awesome. It looked really cool. I can think of no reason why this should not be a yearly thing. It absolutely could be. And I think in the future we might see some of the game's biggest stars, and if we could see the Dodgers in it, or the Padres, or maybe the Angels next year when Trout's back and you got Ohtani there and Rendon. It's honestly a hard thing to mess up at this point. You've got so many teams with so much star power. I think that this is like a layup for the league. They can make this a big thing so easily. And it was just a nice thing to see that it went over so well. Everything, things like that are so good for the game and growing the game and extending it to a larger audience. And so I was all for it. Hopefully we can see this happen every year. Oh, and my favorite baseball movie, I'm gonna go with Major League. I think every time I watch Major League, it just puts a smile on my face. It's just funny. It's just hilarious. I love it. I think Ricky Vaughn's character is so funny. I think the whatever the guy's name is who he does the Allstate commercials, I'm forgetting what his name is. That guy, he's hilarious in the movie. The one who has the bat. I don't know. I'm forgetting his name. And then you got Willie Mays Hayes. You have a bunch of classic characters. The movie's just hilarious. It's a lot of fun. I think that there are other what are the additions that are right up there? I think Moneyball's great. I think Field of Dreams is really good. But if I could only pick one, I think that Major League just makes me the happiest. It's just the funniest, and so I'm gonna pick it because of that.
Yeah, Major League's a good pick. There's, like you said, a lot of movies out there, a lot of good stuff. And everything you said about the Field of Dream game, yeah, for sure. Let's see what the other two here have to say about it. We'll go to James next.
All right, I'm gonna go backwards. My favorite baseball movie is Field of Dreams. So I watched it before the Field of Dreams game, and I was just getting goosebumps the entire time. It's just one of those movies where it can be corny. It's incredibly corny, but if you buy into it, it's just so good and it's so enjoyable. So watching that and then you watch the game, they really played into what makes the movie so great, because the movie, it's about a man's love of baseball and how it connects everyone. You know, he didn't have a great relationship with his father, but both of them loved baseball. So that's why it's my favorite movie. And that's why I was super excited for the Field of Dreams game. They did a great job with it. Most watched game in 16 years. So obviously people who aren't baseball fans were watching. And I think the MLB struck a gold mine. Do I want to see more of it? Absolutely. I think this could be like the MLB's version of the NHL's Winter Classic, where every year 2 NHL teams just go out and go to an outdoor venue and wear modern versions of old jerseys and have fun. You know, I think it could be a big deal like that for the MLB. As for next year, I don't want to see the Cubs in it. I just don't think they'll be that good. But if it has to be the Cubs, they should play the Reds. Just because, like, that would be such a good matchup. Like, those games are always intense. It doesn't matter if they're good or if they're bad. And we would see some pretty cool throwback uniforms from both teams. So, Cubs versus Reds, if we have to see next year's Cubs in the game.
That's fair. I don't think Reds came to my mind when first thinking about Cubs matchup, but I like it. Kristian, what do you got?
So firstly, the game was beautiful. Like everything about it was beautiful. I'm a movie connoisseur. I love movies and I love the 80s era and I love how cheesy it is and how corny it is. And Field of Dreams is a perfect representation of that 80s cheesiness that I do love. So when Kevin Costner walked out of the cornfields, I teared up. When all the baseball players came out of the cornfields, like that gave me goosebumps. That was like, I was blown away by that. I think this can go on forever. Yeah, this could easily replace the All-Star game, in my opinion. You could do a whole bunch of different types of fields from movies and historical landmarks. We could do so much stuff with this. My favorite movie is probably Moneyball, I have to say, baseball-wise. It sparked my love for analytics to a whole new degree. And, like, that's all I talk about now. That's all I love. Like, that's just what I pay attention to, you know? And so with Moneyball, I've gotten myself more invested into baseball and I've fallen in love with it more. I've gotten into Diamond Digest from Moneyball. So definitely my favorite movie.
Kristian, how about instead of replacing the All-Star game, we just have both?
He's not wrong.
I like it.
I like the take though. That's interesting. Yeah, I agree.
What's your favorite baseball movie, Diego?
Oh, my favorite baseball movie is Little Big League. I love that. It's my favorite movie. Not even just baseball. It's my favorite movie. I love that movie so much.
That's a take.
It is, but like also that's a take. But yeah, it's I don't know what it is about it. It's just I love that movie. I can watch it just forever. But Kristian, I also really like what you said about like we can bring in more fictional stadiums and stuff. I think if they were to do that, it'd be super, super cool. Like I've seen it floating around on Twitter. People are like, we can do Sandlot. You can do, from
the Little League World
Baseball.
Series and have backyard baseball.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm like, that would be awesome. And I think it's something they can look into. But I mean, I think next year if we get the Field of Dreams, game back, and it does just as well, I think they'll open up those sort of conversations to see what they can do, because it's definitely going to be a big, like Jared said, a gold mine for MLB and the Bozes at the top. And so, moving on to inning 2. From first place in the NL Central to a complete fire sale, the Cubs are in a weird spot. And, many of their fans would say it's an unwatchable Cubs team again. And, for most people, the Cubs weren't watchable in the first place. But anyway, this week they became the first team in almost 20 years to allow 5 or more runs in the first 2 innings in 3 consecutive games. When would you anticipate the Cubs to be competitive again? And what sorts of moves would they be looking to make this offseason? Or should they be looking to make, I should say. And we'll start with J-Roy.
This Cubs team is not fun to watch right now. They traded away anyone who was worth watching, like Rizzo, Baez, Bryant, Kimbrel. At this point, they've committed to the rebuild. They've committed to just selling everyone, and they've gotten back some decent prospects. Killian, who they got back from, I forget which team they got him from. I was looking at his numbers earlier. He's got the potential to be pretty good. Pete Crow Armstrong's a pretty good young player. I have a lot of faith in him. I think he can be good in the future. Patrick Wisdom has been really good for them this entire year. He's been kind of a bright spot in that organization. They've got a lot of new prospects for all the players they traded away. I think in the offseason they can, we're going to see an awesome shortstop class this offseason. They could maybe go out and make a move for, one of Story, Correa. I don't know. I'm not sure what their cap situation looks like and how they're looking at it with money and stuff. But I think they could probably swing one of those players. Maybe they could go out and get some pitching. I think that would be a good thing for them because, their pitching staff's not super strong right now. They're in a weird spot. I think they're in kind of the worst spot you want to be in as a fan of that team, where all the players that you've kind of grown to love over the past few years are now gone, and now you're you gotta mentally prepare yourself to this is what happened with the Phillies in 2012. You just have to mentally prepare yourself. You know what, we're not gonna be good for a few years, and you just have to be okay with it. And you just gotta kind of learn to enjoy the process. So I think the Cubs have some options. They could go a bunch of different ways with it.
All right, Kristian.
Speaking of the Phillies, it's 9 years and you're still in that process.
No.
But going to the Cubs, I don't believe they're going to be competitive this year, next year, anytime soon. They have holes at virtually every position now. That lineup consists of Rafael Ortega, Schwindel, Wisdom, Boat, Hayward, Chirinos, and Romine. You could have an elite pitching staff. That's a 79-win team. It's horrible right now. Wisdom has been bright. He's looked nice, but he's old. He's not really doing anything. They made great trades this deadline. They got Pete Crow Armstrong. He's my favorite prospect they got back. But everyone they got back is 3 to 4 years away from their debut. This is not a team that wants to be competitive. They have no inclination to spend. If they do spend this offseason, I think they're going to go for someone like Andrelton Simmons, Alex Avila, CJ Crone, and then go for someone like Cameron Maben or Dexter Fowler. For the pitching, I can see them going for one of Matz, Miley, or Heaney, but no long-term deals, just a lot of short-term deals that they can look to trade during the deadlines.
Yeah, I like the take. James?
I wish this was a Laz this week, only because I could just say never. They're never going to be good again, and my points would
I'll
just
give you
double.
points for club slander. I enjoyed some club slander.
My family, they're all White Sox fans, so never for the if that's what you want to hear, never. But realistically, they're 3 years away from being 3 years away. I don't know what their plan is. I think this offseason they're going to have to trade away Kyle Hendricks. That's probably the next move, is trading him and Wilson Contreras away. Is it going to be easy? No, but it's what you have to do. You have to maximize the return on what's not nailed down to your rebuilding process. I don't see anyone on that team where I can realistically say, yeah, he will be a part of the next winning Cubs team. So if there's someone who is willing to trade with the Cubs Jed Hoyer's phone should be ringing this offseason, and he should pick up every single call. I don't think he can really say no. This player is untouchable. But I do like the pickups. The Yu Darvish trade, it's starting to look better for them since some of the younger prospects are showing, hey, maybe they can be legitimate major league players. It's just they're 3 years away from being 3 years away. So let's see what course they take in the offseason with rebuilding. If they trade Contreras and Hendricks, that remains to be seen. But if they do, it's going to be a long rebuild. Although they spent 108 years rebuilding before then, so probably won't be that long.
Yeah, so I don't think they're close either. I think 3 years, 4 years, and then they can start thinking about being competitive again, kind of like Kristian was saying. But also 3 years away from being 3 years away very well could also be the case. But we'll move on here to inning number 3. So sometime in the near future here, Miguel Cabrera will become the 28th player in Major League history to hit 500 home runs. He's been sitting on 499 for a few days now, so it's going to happen soon. So Cabrera, easily a Hall of Famer, but where does he rank amongst the best players of all time? And do you think there are any other players in baseball that can eventually reach that 500 home run mark as well? And we'll go right back to James for this one.
So I believe he's under contract for a few more years. He's 1 home run away from 500, and he's less than 50 hits away from being at 3,000. He's going to get playing time, so he's going to reach those milestones. And when he does, I think he will be considered Inner Circle Hall of Fame. It's not a long list of players who have won multiple MVPs, won a World Series, hit 500 home runs, and 3,000 hits. That's not a long list. So he's an Inner Circle Hall of Famer, not just a Hall of Famer. That man is special. As for who could be the next 300 home run hitter, or 500, excuse me, 3 names popped out to me. Giancarlo Stanton, just because he has so much power. Mike Trout, just because he's Mike Trout. And Bryce Harper, because all 3 of those have at least 250 home runs. Trout and Harper were both under 30 to start the year and don't really have any signs of declining. And Stanton is just going to play for a while because he's signed for another 10 years with the Yankees, it feels like. So if I had to pick, it would be one of those 3.
J-Roy.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking Cabrera's got to be a top 25 player ever. He's a 2-time MVP. He won, a Triple Crown. But then I thought about it more, and I was like, he's maybe not even a top 5 player of this the last 20 years or so, because is he better than? He's not better than Trout. He's not better than A-Rod. He's not better than Pujols. He's not better than Kershaw. He's not better than, I guess we could say, DeGrom at this point. I don't know. I mean, and is he better than Adrian Beltre? Not really. So I mean, I think that I and I was looking into it a little bit, and if you set the minimum PA at 5,000, he's 41st all time in WRC plus, which is awesome. He has a 143 WRC plus for his career. That's crazy. So I mean, and his WAR is a little bit lower than that because he spent a lot of time at first base. Whatever, we're not going to hold that against him. I think that he's probably a top 50-ish player of all time. I think that's a good place to put him. He checks off all the boxes from a resume standpoint. He's got a World Series ring. He's a 2-time MVP. He won a Triple Crown, which almost no one can say that they've done. And he was a consistently awesome hitter for over a decade. So I mean, he is. I would agree with the assessment that he's an inner circle Hall of Famer. I think top 50 would be a pretty good place to put him all time. And the other question, who do I think could get to 500? So I picked two names. I think Nelson Cruz is gonna get to 500 for sure. I know he's 40. He's literally 40 right now, and he's still like 60 away, something like that. But I mean, the guy's not slowing down. Like, I think he can get to 50. I hope he plays till he's 46. If that means he has to get to 500, I'm here for it. And then I'm gonna go no on Stanton, just because I think that his health is not gonna I'm gonna gamble. That's a gamble, but I'm gonna gamble here and say that Stanton's health will not hold up well enough for him to get to 500. And then Trout will hopefully sleepwalk his way to 500. I think I'm picking him to get there. Bryce was one I thought a little bit about, but like Bryce is in his prime right now, and he's not hitting a ton of home runs. Like right now, like he's having an MVP caliber year right now, and he's hit 21 so far. So he would have to play deep into his 30s to get to 500, which he could absolutely do. But as much as he walks, like I think later on in his career, he just might not. I don't know. I'm going to say that Bryce probably narrowly misses 500 home runs. But so yeah, I'm going to pick Nelly and Mike Trout.
All right, Kristian.
I hate that I went last on this because they've covered pretty good ground. I want to preface this with I love Miguel Cabrera. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love him. He stole 2 MVPs from my GOAT, but I love Miguel Cabrera. Uh-huh. He's not top 50 in F4 among position players. He's 58th. He's 11th among first basemen. I know J-Roy can attest. Defensive positioning hates first baseman, but he's 11th among first basemen. For WRC plus among players with 9,000 plate appearances or more, he's 25th all time. That should tell you something about his hitting. We all know it. It's one of the best. It is one of the best. Truly. It's going to go down as he ages, obviously, but that's fine. As far as players who's going to reach 500, I did say Trout, obviously. Stanton and Harper were both on mine. They have 10 years each left on their contract minimum. They have all the time in the world. And then Nelson Cruz, yes. He was seemingly healed by John Coffey of Green Mile. Like, he is ageless. He is ageless. Yeah, I'd put all my money on Nelson Cruz hitting 500 home runs.
Okay, Kristian. So if you had to put a number on where you'd put Miggy, what do you think it would be?
Among position players?
Sure. That changes my answer a little bit, but yeah.
Not top 30.
Okay, I agree with that. I agree.
Probably not top 40 either.
Good takes. Well, James, I feel like I didn't give you enough points for things you said, so I'm going to throw you an extra one there.
All right.
I was thinking, I'm like, you said things that I just definitely didn't give you points for that I liked, so there's an extra point for you.
It's all right.
I
think Laz said my next This Week in Baseball appearance, I get -5 points for something I said at the trade deadline.
Yeah, but it was White Sox slander, so I'll actually give you another point for that now. But I really like the Nelly
tough
pick.
to do that.
Yeah, but I really like the Nelly pick from y'all. That's Nelson Cruz, ageless wonder. And I hope he plays another 5 seasons just because it's Nelson Cruz. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Only 59 away. He can absolutely do it.
He can absolutely do it. Yeah, like Trout, I like that. Harper, I think he's going to be close, I think. I don't know if he meets it, but I can definitely see it happening. A name that I was surprised no one brought up, a couple, were Soto and Tatis, just because they're so young and they'll have the time. And they have, the general power to do it. Just because they said, they spend 15 years in the majors. Like, it's definitely possible. I was expecting to hear maybe a younger guy or two.
For their age alone is why I did not. We've seen multiple shoulder problems from Tatis. That could take away a career. So I don't want to Juan Soto is awesome. I love him. He could probably hit 500. He walks a lot. He's going to be in the league forever. So yeah, I could easily see him. But with young guys, Go ahead.
You know, someone, if we're gonna throw Bryce's name in, we might as well throw Machado's name in there because
I was thinking about it too.
That's fair. That's a good assessment.
yeah, because right now Bryce is at 253, Machado's at 244, and I'm pretty sure they're like the exact same age, something around there.
And not only that, but Machado's starting to hit more home runs like per at bat than Harper is. Like he's hitting for more power. He's elevating the ball more. He's maturing more. So I could easily see Machado.
The only reason I didn't include Machado and some of the other younger guys just because my criteria was you already have to be halfway there for me to start considering.
That's actually a pretty good cutoff. That's
absolutely fair.
I was surprised that Rizzo has 246 at 31. That's not bad. Like
no disrespect to anyone who has gotten to like 200, 240. I don't care I don't care about that in terms of hitting 500 home runs. You got to be at least halfway there for me to even consider. Like, we're not talking about Albert Pujols breaking Barry Bonds' home run record, even though he's at like 670. Like, you just have to know the context behind these records and these milestones. That's why I didn't consider some of those other guys, but they are good guesses.
Yeah, like you could. I mean, I'm sure we could all talk about it forever. Like, who do we think could get there amongst youngsters or the older guys? But I think all of your answers were good. I just wanted to throw in a couple of those young names just for the fact that we could.
For sure.
So,
and if it were 2011, I'm pretty sure J. Roy would have said Ryan Howard will hit 800.
I'll still say it. I mean, he could come back and play in the big leagues. He could hit big league pitching right now. I believe it.
And that's why he was cut by the Rockies minor league.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, let's move on. So we're going to move on here to inning number 4, Fact or Fiction. You love watching the Little League World Series, and it should be something that more baseball fans watch and enjoy. We'll go with Kristian first.
Yeah, I love it. I think my interest in it varies depending on the year, but this year I have definitely absolutely just loved every bit of it. There's certain years you have people like Monet Davis and just highlight names that like those storylines are fun. Betting on those, I'm not a betting man, but betting on those games is also extremely, extremely fun. Yeah, I think everyone should watch the Little League World Series because it is fun, and you will see some of those players 8-9 years from then, and you will not forget it because no announcer ever will let you forget it, as we know with Todd Frazier.
There we go. That's the name I was waiting for. James.
I do enjoy watching the Little League World Series every year. Doesn't matter who is playing, just it's fun to watch baseball. It doesn't matter if it's minor league, if it's Olympic, if it's Little League, if it's the Cubs. But it's fun to watch baseball. It doesn't matter who's playing. And I'll throw another Little League legend out there, Cody Bellinger for Arizona in 2007. Oh, you're going to detract points for that? Okay.
I like that.
Yep. Yeah,
they always have good sound bites from the kids, like
they do.
I hit dingers.
My name's
or there's
Big Al,
the
I hit dingers.
Or there's the female catcher. I forget what her name is, but she's outstanding. Mm-hmm. So it's stuff like that. You just love to see it, and you love to see our love for the game grow in these younger kids.
Yeah. Love that take. J-Roy.
Yeah, Little League World Series is fun to watch. I'm not as into it now. Like when I was younger, like when I was around those kids' ages, I would watch every single game. Because I think in a way I almost like looked up to those kids. I was like, yeah, like man, if I was better at baseball, that would be me. Like that would be me up there. But I still like watching it when it's on. I think that Jimmy, you brought up a good point about how if you're like if you're a baseball fan, you're gonna like watching baseball regardless what level it's at, because we just like baseball, and I completely agree with that. Whether it's college, whether it's major leagues, whether it's Little League World Series, it's fun to watch baseball. And so for that reason, yeah, I think that if you consider yourself a fan of baseball, you should derive at least some enjoyment from watching it at every level. Because these major league guys, a lot of them were here at one point. So
Yeah, baseball. I've said this before on previous, podcasts or hot mics, or whatever. Just baseball's baseball, and like, no matter what it is, it's just fun. It's great to watch. And I definitely agree with both what James and J. Roy said. Also, I'll give 5 points to anyone who can name the female catcher who plays out of Texas this year. No one?
let me look it
How
up.
much time do I have?
You get like 2 more seconds.
Ella Brunning.
Yeah, you looked it up though, so you don't.
No, I actually knew that though. Dang it!
Then why'd you look it up?
Yeah, I know, but I knew it. Man, that name. Okay.
Yeah, Ella Brunning. She's been fantastic. If you haven't seen like the clips or anything, I know she pitched too in one of their games. I think she threw 2 shutout innings as well, if I remember correctly. But yeah, just Little League World Series. It's just fun. I enjoy it a lot too. I always thought when I was younger watching it, because I didn't play baseball at that age, I'm like, man, I could do that. If I would have stuck with it, and then I didn't, so it's fine.
Plus, you could just say go baseball. Like, it's not like
Sure.
watching it with the majors or the Olympics. Like, you don't need to have. You could just root for a good game, and there's no. There's
No
just
strings
no
attached, really.
rooting interest. Like, if one team loses, well, they played a good game. It's just fun.
Yeah. I'll generally root for the teams that are from kind of where I'm from.
Mhm,
Like
for sure.
I've been rooting for the Pacific Northwest team this year, just because that's where I'm at. So, but I used to root for the California teams a lot when I was
It was
younger.
fun watching that Long Beach team.
That Long Beach team
win
was
it all.
really cool. Yeah.
I did have fun watching Jackie Robinson West, and then it wasn't fun after that happened.
That's fair. Yeah, there's some surprising amount of scandals in the Little League World Series. If you've never looked up the Philippines team from, I think, the 90s, if you don't know that story, I highly encourage you to go look it up and watch some videos on it because it's crazy. Anyway, moving past it. Inning number 5, Chris Davis, previously of the Orioles, announced his retirement this week due to injury in the 6th season of his 7-year, $161 million contract. Where does this contract stand amongst the worst all-time in baseball history? And we'll start with James.
So my instant reaction, and this is a bad take, but it's just as bad as Bauer's is. And Bauer's a good player, but he's a horrible, horrible guy off the field. And
I don't know whether to give you points for that or not.
I'm slandering a Dodgers player.
I know, but also just keep going, keep talking.
The problem is that I don't think he'll ever throw another pitch for the Dodgers again, and it's not bad in terms of like value. It's just it really shows a lot of issues with the Dodgers. It's just left a bad taste in my mouth. I hate that. You don't want to see your team make this kind of mistake where it's like the vetting process was just bad. I don't want to say anything about the case, but I am perfectly content with Bauer never throwing another pitch for the Dodgers. I would be happy if he doesn't, which is
so what about Chris Davis?
not great. Chris Davis, worst contract I've ever seen. He became a negative WAR player pretty much a year into that. Had an 0 for 54 stretch, which was partially due to luck, but partially due to him striking out a lot. Like, he struck out a lot when he was hitting, 50 home runs a year, but that happens when you're hitting home runs. It's just his power stroke left him, and he couldn't stop striking out. Pitchers adapted to him, and he couldn't change the way he played. It's convenient to me and it probably is part of the reason why the Orioles stopped being good after that contract was signed. So probably the worst ever in terms of value and return on investment.
Fair take. Christian.
All right. Well, as you can see, that is a very sad jersey. I'm an Angels fan. I have two worst contracts in history: Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton. I mean, we don't need to even go into those. They both were just horrible. He's a top 5 worst contract of all time. It's a shame. I mean, I think it was the most ill-advised contract of all time. I think even looking at stats back then, even if you weren't an analytical fan, or if you were an analytical fan, it did not matter. Both of them said, why the hell are you extending Chris Davis for this much right now? None of it made sense. I feel bad for the guy. I love Chris Davis. Hearing him talk about his struggles, like I love him as a player. It's a shame he sucks. Yeah, like 3rd or 4th worst contract ever.
J-Roy.
I mean, I think objectively the Chris Davis one is the worst ever. I think it's a terrible contract on so many levels. And like Christian said, I love Chris Davis, man. The guy hit absolute tanks in his prime, and he has one of my favorite swings. Like I think his swing is so smooth. I loved watching Chris Davis hit, but like you said, he's just not a good baseball player. I think some other ones that are worth mentioning, just like Carl Crawford for 7 years, $142 million. Back in 2011, that was a terrible deal for the Red Sox. Another one that I thought was kind of interesting is like Miggy's contract, like 8 years, $248 million in 2016. Like that's a rough contract, man. Like as much as of a legend as Miggy is, like that, like he has not produced to even come close to warranting that. And one that kind of just made me LOL, Jason Bay, 4 years, $66 million. I just thought that was hilarious. Like I haven't thought about Jason Bay in years. And last one, I think Jacoby Ellsbury's contract with the Yankees is an all-time bad one for certain. So,
Yeah, a lot of bad contracts out there for sure. Chris Davis is an example of what not to do. I feel like
This
Christian
was
said,
especially bad.
Yeah, like Christian said, even at the time, it was like, sure, okay, but like, why? I think the idea was, the Orioles were going to be competitive. They wanted to keep their guy, but it was just, 7 years, 161. That's absurd.
And then, not to mention, they have $42 million left to pay over the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. And it's going to hurt them going on forward. Like, that's such a horrible contract. The deferrals in it, none of it makes sense for anything with Baltimore.
Yeah. Chris Davis is the sole beneficiary of that contract, and, like, he fleeced the Orioles. So it's just how it worked.
Chris Davis is an agent, one of the greatest of all time.
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, he had his... It's not like he was a bad player. He was, 3rd in MVP voting in 2013? He was a good player. It's just... bad contract, but can't fault Chris Davis.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Like I want to throw Justin Upton's name into this mix too, real quick. 4 years, $100 million with the Angels. He been horrible. I love Justin Upton. Like if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me praising my boy. I love Justin Upton.
He's been decent this year, hasn't he?
No. Yes and no. He's one of the streakiest hitters of all time. He's been super injury plagued. 2019 was downright horrible. 2020 was horrible until September, where he popped off. He was horrible for the first half of this year. Then he had a 3-week stretch of best hitter of all time again. Then he got hurt, came back. He's been 2 for his last 25. It's been a really rough contract. You still have like $60 million left to pay on it. Well, I guess only $35 million now, but it's rough for sure.
How long does that contract run till?
After next year. Mm-hmm. So
okay.
Pujols and Upton's contracts both clear out before we have to extend Ohtani. So
I thought, isn't Pujols' contract done after this year?
Yeah, this year's Pujols, Upton next year, Ohtani the year after.
All right.
Money's coming off the books at least.
It's going to go right back on.
Until Art Moreno decides to chase the next non-pitcher.
Yeah, I want
pay.
Carlos Correa on the Angels, frankly.
That's right.
I mean, I can see it just because Art Moreno loves paying stars.
It's true.
So
yeah, we'll move on past that contract and on to another one. So this year, 34-year-old Brandon Crawford received a 2-year extension from the San Francisco Giants. What does this mean for the Giants moving forward? And since they're likely out of the market for a big-name shortstop this offseason, what team is most likely to swoop in and pick one up that you might not have thought about before? And just so you know, Laz wrote this question. I did not write this question. I'm not even the one who wrote this, so I want to throw that out there. We'll start with Kristian.
All right, so I really like this extension for the San Francisco Giants. Brandon Crawford is a good player. This has been a resurgence for him. They signed him for below market value, which is huge. Lance Lynn also signed a similar extension. It's weird for the Giants. It makes me I'm not sure what they want to do now, spending money wise, because Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, also free agents after the year. Who do you let go? You can't really let go of Buster Posey. He's been the captain of the Giants in my eyes since he's debuted. Yeah. He's been the best catcher in baseball since he's debuted. And I mean, Brandon Belt's a lifer too. But Joey Bart has made himself a real emergence. He needs MLB playing time. And so you're going to have to figure out a way to platoon Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, and also Joey Bart within that. There's a lot of questions there. Teams going forward for a shortstop. I said Anaheim earlier. I'm going to mention them again. I still think they're going to be very much so in the market for Trevor Story or Carlos Correa. And as an Angels fan, I'm perfectly fine with it. I know everyone's like, we have to sign an ace. We have to sign an ace. Yes, we do. Max Scherzer is not going to be extended by the Dodgers. And that's going to be a guy they're going to be aggressive for. From sources this season, we had made plenty of trade offers for him. Our farm system's not good enough. A team that no one's really talking about is the Detroit Tigers. I think they're going to be the most in market for a shortstop. Scott Bentley knows that. I mean, he preaches it every single day. We all know it because we hear him preach it every single day. But I fully believe in that. That's already a second-place team. Oh, they lost today, so they're not in second place, but that's a second-place team already in a year that they had no chance of competing in. And so I do think they're going to take the next step forward towards the big shortstop. And lastly would be Atlanta. I know they have Dansby Swanson, and I know he's emerging a lot, but I still think that they can go out and trade for a big shortstop. I don't think, however, the San Francisco Giants are out of it. I think Corey Seager is still very much so in play, if not for shortstop, then for second base. But I still very much so see Seager and the Giants aligning together.
J-Roy.
Yeah, so this deal for the Giants just tells me that they're going to ride it out with their guy. Brandon Crawford has been their shortstop for a decade now, and he's been really good. This year, he's a 4-win player right now, and we're 2/3 of the way into the season. He's been awesome. Brandon Crawford has put together a nice little career for himself. 26 career F4. He's won multiple World Series. I mean, he's got a nice little career going, and he's still really good. He gets older, and he's still been just rock solid for them. You bring up interesting points, Kristian, with about Belt and Posey. You can't let go of Posey. Posey is the guy. Posey's been their guy for as long as – and Belt's been really good too over the last few years for the Giants. So they've got a little bit of a dilemma there. But, I think this is a really good move for the Giants going forward. I don't think they have to worry about Crawford declining too much. I don't think they have to worry about that for a little while longer, especially because he's on track to have his best season of his career this year. I'll say that I had thought about Atlanta for a shortstop. I think that that could be a really good landing spot for someone. I think that they can move Dansby around. I'm a Dansby Swanson believer. I think that he is I think that his potential versatility is underrated. I think that if they go make a play for a Story or a Correa or even a Corey Seager, I think they could make that work. And if they made that kind of move, it'd be lights out in the NL East. Philadelphia could not hang with them, and the Mets couldn't even dream of hanging with them. So, and the Angels are an obvious pick. I think the Angels aren't an obvious pick to go out and get a shortstop. Kristian wants it to happen. All Angels fans, I would imagine, want it to happen. I think that I think that Correa on the Angels is a fantastic fit. That team would go from very okay to really good. I think that I think that either Los Angeles or the Braves would be two really good spots for any of the three big shortstops that are coming up right now that are going to be in free agency.
James.
I like this deal for the Giants for one reason only. It shows that they are willing to commit to the guys they won the World Series with. It's a good look for the organization. Like, we will treat our older players well, so like when the younger guys come around, they can expect that sort of treatment as well. So I like that standpoint of it. The money, it's fine. It's below market value. I don't trust Crawford going forward. He's having a great season. Don't get me wrong. But, and Diego, you would probably agree with me on this. Do you really think if the Giants announced a 2-year extension in February, you'd be a fan of it?
I'll answer that after you're done talking, because I don't want to influence the points you're going to be here in a second.
Well, because if you look over the last 3 years, below average WRC plus, below average defensive runs saved as a shortstop. He was not the player he was when the Giants were contenders. So good for him for figuring it out and adjusting to becoming above average defensively and having a great season at the plate. But I don't think going forward, he's that type of player. But you have him on a below market deal, so it's not going to kill you. It's only 2 years, and there isn't really a bad 2-year deal because the first year of a deal is just the first year. And then the second year of that deal, well, it's an expiring deal. So worst case scenario, you can just let him go and he retires, and he can retire as a Giant. But it does make the organization look good. I really thought they were going to get Corey Seager. They keep stealing guys from the Dodgers front office. That's where Gabe Kapler was from. That's where Farhan Zaidi was from. So they were all very closely linked to the Dodgers' development of Corey Seager, especially with Gabe Kapler being their farm director when Corey Seager was one of the top prospects in baseball. So that those relationships exist. Now, I don't think they'll go out and get a shortstop because they can just say, we have Brandon Crawford. I think this opens the door for a huge Chris Bryant deal because we saw when he was joining the Giants that he was really excited to be there. I think he was a Barry Bonds fan growing up. If he wasn't a Giants fan, he was at least a huge Barry Bonds fan. So I think that's another reason why they extended Crawford, just so they could keep Chris Bryant. And that's a good deal. Chris Bryant's a great player and he can play a lot of positions. And I know that Farhan and Kapler value that in their players. As for Belt, I think he's gone. Posey, I believe he has a team option.
He does.
So they're going to use it. So he's not gone. But I think he's going to play first base instead of Brandon Belt. and Joey Bart's going to be the catcher of the future. So that is a tough loss emotionally for the Giants to see a piece from those World Series teams go. But that's just how it works, as unfortunate as it is.
You made a good point with Chris Bryant, frankly. I totally forgot. Like, they traded for him. He is going to be a free agent, and they do need the money to extend him. And these last couple of years, they've been on every single free agent, like every single big name. They were very much so in on Harper, on Stanton, on everyone. And so Bryant is definitely that guy. I have no doubt in my mind they're extending him. He made it obvious he wanted to be extended the moment he got traded.
Yeah.
But yeah, you made a very good point with that.
Yeah, and kind of talking on it a little bit. So I loved this deal mostly because I grew up watching Brandon Crawford. Like when I first got in, like started getting into baseball, like Brandon Crawford was like the guy. And so, and I also Belt's one of my absolute favorite players. And I think they're going to keep Belt too, just for the record. I think it's also really dependent on if the DH does come to the National League. That's going to be a huge player because Belt's really only problem in his career has been injuries. Because when he's healthy, he plays really, really good baseball. So, and also, I think all of Giants fans wanted Corey Seager. That was always the connection. But I think this Crawford deal makes a ton more sense because our top prospect, Marco Luciano, is a shortstop, and he should be ready by the time this deal is up. So I like this deal, I think, more than the Corey Seager deal because Luciano, he's in high A right now, but he's going to quickly move for the system. Like, he hits absolute tank. I think he hit one like 485 a couple days ago. Like opposite field, 485 as a shortstop. Like, it was crazy. And so I like this deal a lot. Back in February, if you would have told me they were signing him to this deal for 2 years, I would have been fine with it. If you told me back in February it was going to be for the money it was, I would have been like, that's kind of seems like an overpayment, but sure. But now it seems like a great deal. I think Bart will be catcher of the future once Posey's done. I think Posey's got 2-3 years left in him. I think there's a good chance they don't pick up the option, but they re-sign him for below what it's worth. This consensus around, Giants Twitter as well, because Posey wants to be a Giant for life too. He doesn't want to leave. Crawford didn't want to leave. Belt doesn't want to leave either, but he might just, because if the Giants don't bring him back, plus the Giants don't really have anyone else to come in and play first, unless you want to stick Lamont Wade Jr. there full time, but he's not a natural first baseman. He's not great defensively either. But I don't know. We'll see.
I feel like Posey and Belt can platoon at first base rather well, but both of them are going to get paid like full-time starters. So they either have to get a pay cut or it's hard to want to sign Brandon Belt back as a platoon player, full price.
Right, for sure. And, I mean, Posey hasn't played first all year, this year.
Mm-hmm.
He just hasn't been playing first. He takes, every third day off. They've stuck very strict to that, and it's done him wonders. Mm-hmm. So, it's really just if the DH does come to the National League, you can see Belt and probably Bart as a primary DH, and then see them play in the field too. Okay, so either way, moving on past the Giants talk, we're going to inning 7. The Mets and the Red Sox are both in serious slides. The Mets have fallen all the way to third place after losing 10 of their last 15. And the Red Sox have lost 11 of their last 15. Which team is more likely to stop their current slide before it's too late? And we'll start with James.
All right. I'm going to say the Red Sox for 2 reasons. One, Chris Sale is back. He looked pretty good yesterday for someone who hadn't pitched in the majors in 2 years. So building him up to ideally be the ace of that rotation, that's huge for Boston. And I think he can, if any pitcher in baseball can do it, it's Chris Sale. Just because he is a strikeout machine. I mean, he got 8 strikeouts in 5 innings yesterday after not pitching in the majors in 2 years. Yeah, he's going to be just fine. And then the Mets' next 10 games, I believe it's the next 10 games, but they have a series against the Giants. And then they have a series against the Dodgers in Los Angeles. And then they have a series against the Giants. So you're playing the two best teams in baseball back to back to back to back series. I think they're going to fall because of that series. That's a tough stretch for any team to play those two. And I don't envision them playing up to that competition.
Yeah, it'll be tough for them for sure. Kristian.
Yeah, both teams are in a really perilous situation right now and in entirely different situations. As James stated, the Red Sox just got Chris Sale back. He's a top 3 pitcher in baseball. He has been for quite some time. I've never wavered in that belief. And then they got Kyle Schwarber finally from the IL, and he is back to where he was with the Nationals, hitting tanks, walking a lot. He has been awesome. However, while their next 10 games for the Mets are much harder, the rest of the schedule going forward is a lot easier for the Mets. They're in a lot easier of a division. The Red Sox are in by far the hardest division. They have 4 teams well over 500. The best team in that division is probably 4th by run differential. So I don't know if they can necessarily stop enough to catch up just because how good those teams are. The Mets are not close to the Red Sox in talent. They are much worse of a team, but again, they have much worse of a division, much worse opponents. Yeah, I see the Mets breaking out of this solely because I don't think Boston has enough breathing room to break out, but the Mets do. The Mets can easily break out of this. They're going to have Lindor and Baez back sooner or later, and yeah, I have some faith in the Mets.
Fair points. J. Roy, what do you got?
Yeah, Kristian and James, you both made some good points. I think that I'm going to go with the Red Sox here. I trust them to get out of this a lot quicker because they have a much stronger lineup than the Mets do. The Mets offense is just downright bad, and I think unless Pete Alonso and Conforto and Nimmo and Lindor all kind of break out of like their somewhat mediocre seasons relative to their own individual talent abilities at the same exact time, I think that that offense is going to just continue to scuttle a little bit. And another point is that DeGrom is not coming back within the next couple of weeks the way they were kind of hoping. And Sale is coming back for the Red Sox, so I think that while the Red Sox are getting their ace back, and the Mets, they might not get theirs for a little while. I'll also say that I think that this next week the Red Sox and Yankees are going to play, and I think we'll learn a lot more about how legit, like if Boston is actually going to be able to like mentally get through this stretch and kind of persevere through it. And I think that this series will be really telling for them. I also think that I don't know. I think with the Phillies starting to play better baseball and with the Braves just kind of underperforming the Braves are still a decent ball club. They are injured, but like I don't like them. Yes, the Mets have an easier division to go through, but if they're not that good themselves, that doesn't really matter, I think. And so I don't know. I just trust the Red Sox a lot more. I think that they have way less holes, and I'm as high on Sale as anyone. If he comes back and he's dealing, I think the sky's the limit for them. Like I'm not too worried about the Red Sox. If I was a Mets fan, I would be worried though.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair points, and I think either one. You all made very good points. Either team could really break out of it. It's just a matter of how the baseball gods decide it will be. And so I just want to throw this question out there real quick because we didn't every time we do talk about it. Tyler Gilbert threw a no-hitter. Who throws the next one? I just want a name. I want zero explanation from any of you. Give me a name, and I'll give you points arbitrarily based on that. So, Kristian.
Ohtani,
Justin
perfect game.
James.
Kevin Gossman, perfect game.
J-Roy.
Robbie Ray.
I like that answer a lot, actually. All right.
I could give a good explanation for it, actually, but
I don't need it. Tight pants can have it. So J-Roy, you've taken our seventh inning stretch today. I would have given Gosman more points, but I feel like I already gave you a lot for it for the pandering. I like the Ohtani pick.
I would just like to say something really quick. I've been on like 10 this week in baseballs, and so if you need to know, if you want to have any proof of the way Laz feels about me, I've been on like 10 this week in baseballs. I've not won a single one. The first one with Diego, I win. So.
Dude, I'm undefeated this season. I'm 7-0-1 this season.
Have you really never lost one that you've been on?
Not this season. Last season I did. I tied one this year. But
I'm batting I'm batting 333. I'll take it.
Solid. But yeah, so congrats to J-Roy winning his first this week in baseball.
Let's go.
As we wrap up here, just we'll do our quick what to watch for this week. Starting with J-Roy since he won. So teams, players, what do you got?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think the Red Sox-Yankees series is going to shed a lot of light on some things in that division. The Phillies play the Diamondbacks this week, so hopefully they can get work done there and continue to pad their record a little bit. The Mets play the Giants, which is going to be a tough test for them. We might see a little bit of a shift in the NL East standings over the next week or so. Yeah.
All right. Kristian, who are you watching?
I'm watching the Blue Jays. I said it prior. They've just been the hottest team, the funnest team to watch. They're going to be facing the Nationals coming up, so that feels like pretty easy wins. Manoah he's really anchored that rotation for me, and Barrios has
great
been awesome.
Surprise. He's been a great surprise this year.
It's also going to be a little competition between the Tigers and the Angels, and that's always fun to make fun of Scott. We have a lot of young pitching going up in that series. Detmers just had a really nice start tonight, but we have a lot of young pitching in that series, so I'm really excited to watch that. I
like Detmers a lot. It's a shame that his first few starts were against some of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 of the top WRC plus against left-handed pitching.
I think he's going to be so good. I'm so excited to watch
5 innings, 1 run tonight against the Astros of all teams. I was really happy with Detmers. He was a beast tonight.
All right, James, who are you watching?
I'm watching the Padres and the Reds because that is a close chase. The Padres have to go to Colorado. That's not easy. The Rockies, for some reason, are a good home team this year.
For some reason, I could never guess why. It's just,
I've done the trip to Colorado and back in a short span. It can take a toll on your body. That is not an easy trip. And then they have to play the Phillies, and the Phillies are a hot team right now. The Reds, they play the Cubs. The Cubs don't want to win. And then they play the Marlins. All those games are in Cincinnati. I think now is the time for the Reds to really say, we're going to go for this wild card spot. And I think it would be hilarious if the Padres fall out.
I agree. I would love to see the Padres kind of tinker away here. The second half crash. But yeah, all very good series. Padres, Reds, definitely something to keep an eye on for wild card implications. So yeah, that wraps our day up here. So you can know where to find us on our socials. Our Twitter is diamond_digest, Instagram diamond.digest, website diamond-digest. We're very consistent here at Diamond Digest. So for J-Roy, James, and Kristian, I have been your guest host today, Diego Franco-Carreno. So long. Have a good week watching baseball. And as always, go baseball.
Go baseball.
Go baseball.
Max Stassi, best catcher in the league.
All right.